Hey everybody, this is your Black Gaddy coming back at you once again with another countdown, this time focusing on black musicians and substance abuse. The general consensus is that making music, drugs, and alcohol go hand in hand in hand. And it's very common to hear about popping a pill to stay awake late at night or having a toot of coke for energy. And we all hear the tales of rockers who are messed up on stage or partaking crazy antics or in and out of jail and rehab. We also know of the cases of musicians whose drugs and alcohol have taken a dire toll on their health, like in the cases of Amy Winehouse or Elvis Presley or Janis Joplin, who all died of drug and alcohol-related issues. We also know that drugs played a major role in the deaths of people like Kurt Cobain, Avicii, and Liam Payne. Press has never seemed all that interested in covering the devastating health consequences of drugs when it comes to black musicians, unless they are super mega stars. So on this countdown, we're going to briefly honor 30 of our black music stars who have struggled with substance abuse at some point in their lives and careers. Some of them have lost that fight, while others have lived to tell about it. The inclusion of some of these stars on the list might actually shock you. Number 30, Frankie Lymon. Frankie Lymon struggled with heroin as a teenager, likely during his early success with the group Frankie Lymon and the Teenagers in the mid-50s. On February 27, 1968, at the age of 25, he was found dead in his grandmother's bathroom in Harlem due to a heroin overdose, just one day before he was scheduled to sign a new record deal. Number 29, Etta James. Etta James struggled with drug addiction throughout most of her career, particularly with heroin and alcohol. She entered into rehab in the 1980s and she achieved sobriety. She actually made a remarkable comeback during that time. But despite her recovery, the toll of years of substance abuse affected her health, and she was diagnosed with leukemia in 2010. Etta James passed away on January 20th, 2012 at the age of 73. Number 28, David Ruffin. David Ruffin had a problem with cocaine throughout most of his career. His substance abuse began in the late 1960s, and this led to his dismissal from the Temptations in 1968. His behavior had become erratic and his performances were affected by it. Throughout his life, he was arrested multiple times for drug-related offenses and had periods of rehabilitation and attempts at recovery. But tragically, on June 1st, 1991, at the tender age of 50, David Ruffin died from an overdose of cocaine. Number 27, Billie Holiday. Legendary jazz singer Billie Holiday had problems with heroin and alcohol throughout her short life. Her addictions began in the late 30s, and she faced numerous legal challenges, including arrests and imprisonment for drug-related offenses. Billie Holiday's drug use also led to a weakened immune system and health complications. She was arrested in 1947 for drug possession while in the hospital for cirrhosis of the liver, and after spending several months in very poor health, she passed away on June 17, 1959 at the age of 44 from liver failure. Number 26, James Brown. Though drug-free during the most successful parts of his career, Brown eventually became addicted to PCP, and he smoked cigarettes laced with cocaine and marijuana beginning in the early 1980s. His run-ins with the law and financial troubles were well documented. He went into rehab for an undisclosed issue with substances. On December 25, 2006, James Brown passed away at the age of 73 from heart failure. There were traces of cocaine present in his urine at the time of his death. Number 25, Bobby Brown. Bobby Brown had issues with cocaine and alcohol, which began in the 1980s during the height of his fame. Brown's addictions were widely reported in the media, and his erratic behavior and legal troubles, including multiple arrests for drug issues, led to a turbulent personal and professional life. Bobby made efforts at recovery, entering rehab multiple times, but the effects of his addiction, including health problems and personal loss, were lasting. Bobby Brown has spoken openly about his past struggles with substance abuse and has worked to rebuild his life in recent years. Number 24, Gerald Levert. Levert passed away on November 10, 2006 at the age of 40. A toxicology report later revealed that his death was caused by an accidental acute intoxication due to a combination of prescription and over-the-counter drugs such as Vicodin, Percocet, Darvocet, Xanax, and others. He suffered from chronic pain. Number 23, Miki Howard. The Love Under New Management singer has been open about her struggles with drug addiction, particularly in the 90s, admitting that she battled cocaine addiction, which took a toll on both her career and personal life. She has sought help and is currently in recovery. 22, Vesta Williams. Vesta was open about her struggles with cocaine addiction during her career and also spoke about how industry pressures, weight struggles, and personal issues led to her drug use. However, she eventually overcame her addiction and became an advocate for health and wellness. Vesta was found dead on September 22, 2011 at the age of 53 in a hotel room in California. While there was initial speculation that there was possible drug use involved, the official cause of death was ruled as hypertensive heart disease with no drugs found at lethal levels in her system. Number 21, Smokey Robinson. In the 1980s, Robinson fell into a cocaine addiction during a difficult period in his life. Smokey went through a painful divorce from his first wife, and this emotional turmoil led him to heavy cocaine use, which lasted about 2 years. He reported to have a spiritual awakening and credits this moment with helping him quit cocaine cold turkey. This, of course, is not recommended by most health specialists. Number 20, Phyllis Hyman. Phyllis Hyman struggled with drug addiction, depression, and bipolar disorder, which ultimately contributed to her tragic death. During her career, friends said that she used drugs and alcohol to cope with the emotional pain and stress of her life. And on June 30, 1995, just a few hours before she was scheduled to perform at the Apollo Theater, Phyllis Hyman died by suicide in her New York City apartment. She overdosed on a combination of prescription pills and left a heartbreaking note apologizing to her family and friends, stating that she felt tired of the pain and loneliness. Number 19, Charlie Parker. Charlie Parker, the pioneering bebop saxophonist, struggled with heroin addiction from his teenage years, which severely impacted his career and health. Years of substance abuse, alcoholism, and stress took a heavy toll on Charlie Parker, and he died in 1955 at just 34 years old, from complications including pneumonia, a bleeding ulcer, and heart failure. Number 18, Florence Ballard. Flo struggled with alcoholism and depression after being forced out of the Supremes in 1967. Following her departure, she turned to alcohol as a coping mechanism, and her substance abuse contributed to her declining health and instability. Despite brief efforts to rebuild her life, including public assistance and a short-lived comeback, Ballard died at just 32 years old from cardiac arrest caused by coronary thrombosis. Kris Mack Daddy Kelly. Mack Daddy, one half of 1990s rap group Kross, struggled with drug abuse later in life. In the years following their career, he struggled with cocaine and heroin addiction, which contributed to his health decline. On May 1st, 2013, at just the age of 34, Kris Kelly was found unresponsive at his home in Atlanta, Georgia. The official cause of death was a drug overdose, primarily from a combination of cocaine and heroin. 16. Tony Thompson. Tony Thompson was the lead singer of the R&B group High Five, and he struggled with substance abuse throughout much of his adult life, with alcohol and cocaine addiction. Despite efforts to clean up and revive his career, his struggles continued to impact his health and personal relationships. Tragically, on June 1st, 2007, Tony Thompson was found dead at the age of 31 from an overdose. His death was caused by the toxic effects of Freon, which he had been inhaling in an attempt to get high. Number 15, Natalie Cole. Natalie Cole had issues with cocaine and heroin addiction, mostly throughout the 1970s and early 80s. Her addiction led to a near-fatal overdose in 1983, followed by a period of rehabilitation. She had spoken openly about her struggles with drugs and alcohol, detailing her road to recovery in her autobiography, Angel on My Shoulder. Natalie Cole passed away on December 31, 2015 at the age of 65. The official cause of death was congestive heart failure, which was complicated by her long history of kidney disease. Number 14, Ray Charles. Ray Charles struggled with heroin addiction for much of his early adult life. He began using heroin in his 20s, overcoming his addiction after a 1966 arrest. Ray Charles passed away on June 10, 2004 at the age of 73. The official cause of death was liver disease, which was likely related to his history of hepatitis C, which is common in many heroin users. Number 13, Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan battled with cocaine and alcohol abuse during a time when her career was at its peak, and her personal life was marked by turmoil, including a major incident in 1996 when she was briefly hospitalized due to substance-related health issues. Chaka Khan sought treatment and entered rehabilitation to overcome her addictions. Over time, she has managed to regain control of her life and career, ultimately achieving sobriety. Number 12, Rob Pilatus. As a member of 1980s group Milli Vanilli, Rob Pilatus faced huge public backlash and a major blow to his career, and this led to a downward spiral in which he became addicted to cocaine, alcohol, and heroin. Pilatus attempted to rebuild his career and life, but his addictions remained a persistent challenge. Tragically, on April 2, 1998, Rob was found dead in a hotel room in Frankfurt, Germany, at the tender age of 32. The official cause of death was ruled as a drug overdose, specifically alcohol and prescription drugs. Number 11, Miles Davis. The legendary jazz trumpeter Miles Davis faced significant struggles with drug addiction, particularly heroin, throughout much of his early career. Davis also struggled with alcoholism during different periods of his life. But after many years of battling addiction, Miles Davis finally achieved sobriety in the mid-1970s. Miles passed away on September 28, 1991 at the age of 65. The official cause of death was pneumonia, though his long history of drug use, combined with other health issues such as a stroke and a difficult recovery from a leg injury, also played a part in his death. Number 10, Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye had a significant battle with drug abuse throughout much of his career, particularly in the 1970s and 80s. His struggles with cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol were well documented, and they took a toll on his health, relationships, and music. He also experienced bouts of depression and struggled with the pressures of fame, which became worse with his addictions. Gaye made attempts at recovery, especially in the 1980s when he sought treatment for his addiction. However, his issues with drugs persisted, affecting both his health and his ability to consistently produce music. Tragically, Marvin Gaye was shot and killed by his father on April 1st, 1984, and he died at the age of 44. Number 9, Wilson Pickett. Wilson Pickett had problems with alcohol and cocaine, and his drug problems were well known as they contributed to difficulties in both his personal and professional life. His struggles with drugs and alcohol were compounded by his fiery temper and volatile personality, which sometimes led to countless conflicts with his bandmates, managers, and family. He also had trouble keeping up with the intense schedule of touring and recording, which was common among successful artists back in the 1960s and 70s. However, his drug use and lifestyle eventually took a toll on his health, and his later years were marked by periods of decline. Wilson Pickett passed away on January 19, 2006, at the age of 64. He had a heart attack, which is believed to have been influenced by his years of substance abuse. Number 8, Rick James.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
James was heavily addicted to cocaine, and his drug use spiraled out of control in the 1980s, which contributed to his erratic behavior, multiple arrests, and strained relationships. His addiction was widely publicized, and he spent time in jail for drug-related issues. He spent time in rehabilitation and faced several public battles, but the toll of his years of substance abuse had lasting effects on his physical and mental health. Rick James passed away on August 6, 2004, at the age of 56. His death was attributed to heart failure due to complications from cocaine use, along with other health issues such as a stroke and diabetes. Number 7, Gil Scott-Heron. He is often credited as one of the pioneers of rap and spoken word music. However, he also struggled deeply with substance abuse, particularly with heroin and alcohol. His addiction issues began in the 1970s during the height of his career and were intertwined with his personal struggles and the themes of his music, which often dealt with social justice, inequality, and personal reflection. In the early 2000s, Scott-Heron faced even more challenges with addiction and spent time in prison for drug possession. After being released, he began to make a comeback, but his health had been severely affected by his years of substance abuse. Gil Scott-Heron passed away on May 27, 2011 at the age of 62 due to heart failure and complications from his long-term drug use. Number 6, Jimi Hendrix. Hendrix became infamous for his use of LSD, mescaline, marijuana, and alcohol. He also struggled with dependence on barbiturates and other substances. His drug use became more apparent in the later years of his career. Jimi Hendrix's life was tragically cut short at the age of 27, when on September 18, 1970, he was found dead in his London apartment from asphyxiation caused by vomiting in his sleep after consuming a combination of barbiturates and alcohol. But questions still remain about how Jimi Hendrix really died. Number 5, Sly Stone. Sly Stone has struggled with drugs, particularly cocaine and alcohol, throughout most of his life. His erratic behavior, fueled by drugs, led to the disbanding of Sly and the Family Stone in the early 1970s. His addiction issues led to periods of legal troubles, health issues, and mental health struggles, causing him to retreat from the public eye for years. In the early 2000s, it was reported that he was homeless and living in a van. Despite his chronic health and mental health issues, in 2021, it was reported that Sly Stone is living in a more stable environment, though his life remains very private. Number 4, Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston's struggles with cocaine, marijuana, and prescription drugs were all very highly publicized and played a significant role in her personal and professional decline. Her struggles began in the late 1980s and early 1990s at the height of her fame. Whitney Houston's addiction was compounded by her tumultuous relationship with her husband Bobby Brown, whose own issues with substance abuse worsened the situation. Over the years, Whitney went in and out of rehab and attempted to regain control of her career, but her drug use continued to interfere with her ability to make a full comeback. On February 11, 2012, Whitney Houston tragically passed away at the age of 48. The cause of death was later ruled as a drowning, with heart disease and cocaine use contributing factors. Toxicology reports confirmed the presence of cocaine, marijuana, antidepressant drugs, and opiates, along with other prescription drugs in her system at the time of her death. Number 3, the Debarge Family. The Debarge family suffered unspeakable levels of abuse at the hand of their father. Bobby Debarge, the oldest sibling and the lead singer of Switch, had significant struggles with drug addiction, particularly with cocaine. He was implicated in a case involving a sexual assault of a minor which led to his imprisonment. Bobby's life came to a tragic end when he died of age-related complications in 1995 at the young age of 39. James, who also struggled with drug addiction, had a long history of being in and out of rehab, and his career was marked by legal and personal problems. And he faced difficulties with his marriage to Janet Jackson in the 1980s. Chico Debarge also was well known for his own struggles with drug addiction, including cocaine and heroin. His addiction led to a series of arrests and incarcerations, but he also managed to revive his career several times. Unfortunately, his personal life and struggles with substances have continued to affect his health and well-being. El Debarge, the lead singer of the group Debarge, had initially resisted getting involved in drugs as he saw the toll it was taking on the people closest to him. But eventually he struggled with drug addiction, particularly cocaine. El was arrested several times for drug-related offenses and spent time in prison. However, like his siblings, he made efforts to overcome his addiction and rebuild his life, and he has experienced a career resurgence in the 2000s. Number 2, Michael Jackson. Michael's struggles with drugs began in the 1980s, when he was dealing with the physical pain from accidents, including the infamous incident when his scalp was severely burned during the filming of a Pepsi commercial. To manage the pain, he was prescribed painkillers, including Demerol, which would later contribute to his dependency. His addiction to prescription medications deepened over time, and he became known for his reliance on sleeping pills and sedatives, including propofol, a powerful anesthetic used to induce sleep. While preparing for a highly anticipated comeback concert series in London, his personal doctor, Dr. Conrad Murray, administered propofol to help Michael Jackson sleep. This is a practice that is both dangerous and highly controversial. On June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson was found unconscious in his Los Angeles home. He was rushed to the hospital but was later pronounced dead at the age of 50. The cause of Michael Jackson's death was ruled as acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication, which led to cardiac arrest. Number 1, Prince. With just about every other celebrity on this list, there seem to have been signs, either news stories or unconfirmed gossip, signs of strange behaviors in public, or even self-reported confessions, especially at this level of superstardom. The fact that Prince died of an overdose, and later confirmations of decades-long use of cocaine and dabbling in other drugs, was a total shock to most. In the 1990s, Prince was reported to have suffered from chronic pain, possibly stemming from his intense performances and the physical strain on his body. This led him to develop an addiction to painkillers, particularly Percocet. In April 2016, Prince's health became a major concern after he was rushed to the hospital due to an opioid overdose. After this incident, Prince was said to have sought treatment and appeared to be on the path of recovery. However, just a week later, on April 21, 2016, Prince was found unresponsive at his home in Paisley Park. He was later pronounced dead at the age of 57, and the cause of death was revealed to be an accidental overdose of fentanyl.